Does this mean Caitlin has to wear the black Air Force Ones the rest of the series?
I mean, they're working. So, yeah, we made the joke. She has to bring them in her bag, wear them every day.
Nothing could have prepared fans for the unexpected statement that Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, and Lexie Hull recently made, despite the basketball world's constant hype. Together, these three celebrities, each with a loyal fan base and an indisputable influence on the game, have disseminated news that is upending the WNBA as a whole. This isn't just another headline. It's a game-changer that could permanently alter careers, rivalries, and the future of women's basketball. Let's examine what actually happened. On July 8, 2025, three players entered the same practice facility and altered the conversation about women's basketball. Caitlin Clark, who gained national attention with a breakout season, met Sophie Cunningham, a veteran known for her grit and clear-headed view of the sport, and Lexie Hull, a young, rising talent. It was not a casual meeting at the Indiana Fever training facility. Whispers quickly became headlines as a result of what appeared to be a planned and premeditated action. The boundaries of rivalry were broken when Clark's enormous fan draw stood next to Cunningham's steady voice and Hull's newfound promise. Due to contracts, team allegiance, and competition, players frequently keep their distance. Instead, these three decided to demonstrate unity. Fans, teammates, and league leaders were forced to pay attention when that decision sliced through the clutter. It seemed like the first part of something bigger. The league is at a unique crossroads, thus the moment is crucial. Compared to previous years, the WNBA has increased sponsorship interest, TV ratings, and attendance. Deep problems still exist, though. Pay that lags below men's sports, careers that end too quickly, and an economic model that often compels athletes to work overseas just to make a living. Clark attracts a lot of attention and new viewers. Cunningham offers years of expertise and useful insights gained during difficult seasons. The next generation of players, who require patience, encouragement, and well-defined routes, are represented by Hull. When taken as a whole, the three have an impact that is difficult to deny. United may advocate for contracts that safeguard players beyond fleeting moments of glory, better health regulations, and more transparent pay scales. To enable athletes to continue playing beyond retirement, they can advocate for league-backed initiatives, improved insurance, financial training, off-season assistance, and coaching pipelines. Long careers and genuine protection are what the sport deserves, not fleeting headlines. Stadiums filled, social media feeds lighted up, and regular supporters started calling for significant change as fans responded quickly and loudly. Players felt suddenly supported by a public prepared to demand change. Community organizations and youth initiatives spread the call throughout cities and small villages, transforming local rumors into national pressure that business owners could no longer ignore. Serious business discussions are going on behind the scenes. The agenda for collective bargaining, broadcast rights, and expansion ambitions are all at stake. The distribution of funds and the terms that are negotiable can be altered by a coordinated player voice in these discussions. Networks and owners pay different attention when a few prominent players come forward together. Budgets and priorities can be changed by this combined leverage. Like every memo, the symbolism is important. Young girls who see Clark set records will now realize that power can be gained off the court through celebrity. Experienced players realize that it could be safer to speak up with allies. Sponsors perceive a movement that is stable enough to make long-term investments rather than short-term ones. One-time campaigns might give way to multi-year agreements that fund player development, community initiatives, and secure employment. Beneath the conversation lies a personal reality as well. Better assistance translates into safer decisions and healthier lives for athletes who balance international seasons, family obligations, or injury rehabilitation. More stability gives rookies more time to grow. Stronger mechanisms provide retiring athletes with healthcare, pensions, and coaching opportunities that recognize their years of sacrifice. Thus, it appeared like they were beginning something greater than a single declaration when those three departed the training site together. To discover out, keep watching. WNBA stars join forces for equality. Excitement is in the air as the 2025 WNBA season draws near. This time, however, it's not just about whose team leads the rankings or who scores the most points. Something more profound is taking place off the field, a quiet but powerful energy that has the potential to upend women's basketball as a whole. It's not about a highlight reel dunk or a buzzer-beater victory. A strong coalition committed to addressing the issues that have long been ignored is responsible for this surge of change. Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, and Lexie Hull gathered inside the Indiana Fever training facility on July 8th in what appeared to be a planned action rather than a chance encounter. Insider rumors indicate that their goal is to change the league's future rather than developing a new playbook or game plan. They're focused on fair compensation, which is one of the most contentious topics in women's sports. The WNBA has received media attention, sponsorships, and TV appearances for many years. However, players continue to struggle with pay that hardly adequately compensates them for their contributions. The salaries of male athletes in comparable roles are far higher than those of even the biggest stars. The league's open secret has been this division. However, the period of silence might be coming to an end if the appropriate voices take the lead. The story changed when Clark joined the league in 2024. Millions of people watched from home, arenas were packed, and ticket sales skyrocketed from her very first games. At this early stage of her success, merchandise bearing her name shot off the shelves, breaking records nobody had anticipated. She quickly rose to prominence as the league's top earner and developed a strong personal brand. However, she is still constrained by wage regulations that cap her earnings much below her value, even if she makes more money than many franchises alone. Her enormous social media following, which surpasses that of certain NBA players, only enhances her capacity to raise awareness of the issue. Then there is Sophie Cunningham, a reliable veteran who has accumulated credibility and grit during several seasons in the WNBA and abroad. She has personal experience with the difficulties of off-season contracts, the dangers of injury without complete security, and the sacrifices required to maintain a high caliber of play. Cunningham's viewpoint adds significance by demonstrating that the problem is about sustainability for all players, not simply rookies or rising stars. With her early promise and Stanford education, Lexie Hull is a symbol of the next generation. She speaks for the new generation of athletes who aspire to long careers but are concerned about whether the system will let them. Her participation shows that this is a call from people of various ages and backgrounds, not simply those who are already well established. Clark, Cunningham, and Hull come together to establish a coalition that seems both strategic and symbolic. In addition to drawing attention to unequal pay, they also allude to more extensive changes, improved working conditions, health-protecting regulations, and systems that ensure players receive equitable treatment from the time of their draft selection until their retirement. They have impeccable timing. The WNBA is experiencing unprecedented expansion, drawing in more corporate funding and new viewers. Now is the perfect time for gamers to use their united power to effect change. The fact that it's not only about money makes this even more remarkable. It's about redefining the unwritten rules of women's sports as well as identification and acknowledgement. These three athletes are demonstrating that influence in the contemporary era extends well beyond the court. Boardrooms, discussions, and even culture itself are all affected. Together, they have the potential to change the league's revenue model for years to come. What might have been the driving elements behind the WNBA's decision to finally consider its future? The story is just getting started, so stay close. The movement's purpose, a deeper story that goes beyond baskets, highlights, and record-breaking rookie numbers, begins to emerge as the spotlight shines brighter on Caitlin Clark's every move. Her presence has changed the WNBA's entire financial model in addition to packing arenas and increasing TV viewership. However, the more important question now is, how will Clark use her unparalleled power to advance the game for all of the players on the court, not just herself? Whispers in Indiana are getting louder behind the scenes. Not all of Clark's priorities are trophies, sponsorships, or personal achievements. According to insiders, she has been meeting with Lexie Hull and Sophie Cunningham, starting a dialogue that might lead to something much bigger than individual success. Together, these three represent a new form of power in the WNBA that is based on unity and purpose rather than rivalries or team colors. Clark is well known outside of the basketball court. Her likeness appears on stuff that is flying off stores, her games dominate national broadcasts, and her social media following matches professional athletes in much larger leagues. Few female basketball players have ever had such sway, and she appears to be well aware that this platform entails responsibilities. Success is a doorway rather than merely a destination. Sophie Cunningham, on the other hand, offers tenacity, fortitude, and the viewpoint of an experienced veteran who has successfully negotiated the challenging realities of the league. She has undergone difficult off-season spells overseas to maintain financial stability, played under antiquated systems that impeded growth, and been frustrated by paychecks that didn't reflect her hard work. Cunningham is more than simply a player. She is a survivor of the WNBA's difficult times. She has contributed significantly to the league's recent rise in popularity despite these obstacles. Her voice is both important and valuable because of her background in union advocacy and her capacity to strike a balance between home issues and international play. Cunningham is a true example of how to turn adversity into wisdom so that players in the future won't encounter the same difficulties. Cunningham's insight and Clark's vigor combine to create a potent alliance. The trio becomes even more when Lexie Hull is included. As the sixth pick in the 2022 WNBA draft and a Stanford standout, Hull speaks for the league's younger players. She is still in the early stages of her job, but she recognizes both the opportunities and the dangers. She flourished at Stanford because of a system that made significant investments in its athletes. She encounters a world in the WNBA where many teenage players silently consider difficult decisions. Hull's viewpoint is unvarnished, new, and rooted in the everyday hardships of individuals who wish to establish a future in a league that still fights for fair recognition, regardless of whether they choose to pursue stability abroad, hustle through side possibilities, or stay and push for change at home. She plays a strategic rather than merely symbolic role in this endeavor. She stands for the unheard voices of dozens of athletes who are still pursuing careers, but whose issues are frequently overshadowed by celebrity-focused stories. Hull is a sign of change, demonstrating that even the youngest generation can no longer tolerate quiet. She brings balance, the weight of yesterday, and the visibility of today in harmony with the promise of tomorrow, alongside Clark and Cunningham. This collaboration is remarkable since it spans generations. Hull is a representation of potential for the future, Cunningham is a symbol of earned knowledge, and Clark is a symbol of meteoric momentum. Their collaboration goes beyond simply swapping out one era for another. It's about combining them into something more powerful, a real-life illustration of what happens when disparate paths come together.